Welcome. Oh, it's good to be a superhero. I'm loving it. Loving this Spider-Man getup that I got on. Kind of doing it for Madam Web, trying to show some support for the boys because the girls are letting us down. The girls are not picking up the slack. It's just how it is. So, welcome everybody. We're going to be talking about some drama today. Big drama. Well, not really. And here, look. I don't really, honestly, I don't love talking about drama. Actually, if you go behind me, if you see, I'd rather be talking about Final Fantasy. Look at my Tifa and Aerith. But, you know, that's next week. Welcome from Twitter and from YouTube, whoever's watching. I just wanted to say, there's some good and bad news. There's some good and bad drama. The good drama is, I don't know if you guys were aware of this. We'll talk about this in a little bit. But the good drama is we spoke with the Luke Cage Netflix showrunner on Little Platoon and Movie Cynics podcast, BSUP. And that's on my Twitter. I have a link there. I think Friday we're putting out a video just exclusively of that interview. Now, that was interesting because we talked for a good hour and a half or so about Madam Web. Actually, it's right. This might even be it right here. So it's right behind me. It's called, it's on BSUP YouTube channel. But we talked about Hollywood, the system, the studio system, the studio interference, writers rooms, writer quotas, writers' responsibilities. And it's very interesting. Because number one, not a lot of writers come onto these streams to talk to fans. I mean, besides Director X, you guys remember this? He went on a couple streams to talk to people. The guy who did the Robin in the Hood YouTube channel, streaming show. And he came on to chat. And then we had Zack Snyder back in the day come on. And then, man, who else? You know what I mean? Like, props to this guy. Props to Chio. We're friends now. Well, we're acquaintances. And we'll talk about it. It's kind of funny because he wanted me to give him a phone call over a Twitter beef. And I was like, what? This is strange. And it turned into an interesting thing, you know? Oh, Picard Season 3 director. What's up, Heistman and Sketch and Alex and Stanimus, everybody in the chat. Geminier, what's up? What's going on? And whoever's watching on Twitter. Oh, I got to post this on Twitter. Let me just do this quick before I'm going to post a link to the stream in case people want to watch that. Come here to chat. If you're on Twitter, if you want to chat, you can leave a comment or you can come here. Anyway, so that's one flip of the coin, right? That's one flip of the coin. The other flip of the coin is another writer called me out and called out Gary and some people about our takes on writers in the community and the fans and everything. And we're gonna get into all that. Now, this is kind of what I'm talking about behind me. Now, Gary, I don't know why he interacts with Gary, this guy, but I guess he called out. Let's just talk about it. Let's talk about this part for a second while I read chat. Let me shrink myself. Let's see if other people are showing up to the stream. But okay, so here's an interesting I guess if you can see at the bottom, he tagged a bunch of people. He tagged me, Wyatt's Metal, Vito. He tagged Vito. He tagged Gary, and then me, and then I don't know who else is involved. I don't know these people, but this all stems from, like, I guess an argument over whether or not we should blame the let's go to that, actually. Let's go to that. the initial tweet. Because the Madam Web writers, number one, the movie's terrible. I think everybody knows this. Now, I'm not going to be... We're talking about Chris Stuckman, too. Chris Mahler did a whole stream today about Chris Stuckman. Whoops. Are we going back too far? Oh, I hope you didn't delete it. They were making fun of... well, let's go to Chio. Let's go to Chio. I don't know. There we go. They were making fun of the Madam Web writers, and people didn't like it. Here's the tweet. Here it is. Imagine being this guy. Morbius, Power Rangers, Madam Web, Dracula, Gods of Egypt, Witch Hunter. That's his career. All right. Now I'm laughing. I'm laughing sort of nonchalantly. Like, I'm not pointing and kicking this guy in the face. Right? But, like, it's kind of funny. Now, you know, I'm not doing any harm. I'm just laughing on a stream with, like, 30 people, or whatever, 20 people watching. But people had a problem with this. For example, the Luke Cage creator had a problem with this. We'll get to this in a little bit. Because the main issue was this Joe Russo. Now, I'm just going to be up front. I didn't try to clickbait the title. It's not, his name is Joe Russo, but it's not the Joe Russo of the MCU. It is the Joe Russo who wrote, he doesn't even have it on his bio because he's embarrassed about it, but he wrote a movie called Hard Kill with Bruce Willis. I think was Bruce's last movie. And he wrote some other stuff. Or actually, you can go to his website. But here, he tagged a bunch of us and said, "Hey, everybody, watch my podcast, and I will educate you on how writers work in Hollywood and how the industry works, or well, you know, if a movie doesn't work, is that because the screenwriters are bad?" On the latest Hollywood Hangover, some other guy and I we prove once and for all. Let me zoom in on this. Prove why it takes this is an absolute crazy statement. Ready? Prove why it takes great screenwriters to make a movie like Madam Web. Like, what the hell, guys? So he has a podcast link. Here's his podcast. Okay, I listened to the entire thing, so you don't have to. Then he tagged me and Vito and Gary and then told, I guess for you, telling us to watch it. Right? So essentially, I guess I could play like a snippet of it. Maybe I'll play a snippet of it. We'll get to Chris Stuckman too. I want to talk about that. So let's do this.
The process
you should be able to hear this.
Screenwriting and how screenwriters are hired and how development works. With bringing in some of my own anecdotes, at least people can understand why a Madam Web exists and why it is not actually any of these screenwriters' faults.
Okay, so I hope you guys can hear that, right? Why Madam Web exists and why it's none of the screenwriters' faults. None. So, yikes. Where do we even start? What's up, Jazz Art Comics? Or the fact that people hire you to write horrible fan fictions on Reddit. Joshua says, I was like, for some creative ass directors, they have retarded takes, but it's different for Joe Russo. Yeah, but like, you guys don't have to watch this. The first 20 minutes is like just failed attempts at like just jokes and they're not funny. They're dumb. I don't like these people. But like, what's up, Summers? And DJ Ronnie, what's going on? Oh, Stanimus. Wait, are you the guy that we were DMing? I think I have to get back to you about a project. But yeah, anyway, that was funny.
Yeah, because I think that becomes the running narrative is these guys wrote Morbius. That quote unquote was a bad movie.
Okay, no, you don't have to do the quote unquote thing. Just guys, why is everybody being afraid Holy hell. Why is everybody afraid of saying that Madam Web is bad? Stuckman was afraid of saying it. All these writers are defending it. It's just,
Yeah.
And
like, just say it's bad.
then all of a sudden we have this new one, Madam Web, and it too.
Wait, let me skip ahead slightly.
And Burke Sharpless showed off the different movies that they've had made and their Rotten Tomato scores, and they're all not great Rotten Tomato scores. Like, that's
So they're
that's
talking
the-
about
the
they're talking about that sort of like what I was showing you guys about, like that guy's career, and has all they're all rotten. You could say if somebody in the chat's like, I like Power Rangers, well, I don't care if you, that's fine. The point is the guy has a bad career. I mean, overall.
the joke, and so they're basically suggesting that these guys are consistently bad. And then another person took a different screen grab of their filmography and was like, imagine being this guy. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, actually, I can imagine being that guy.
Oh, so he can imagine it.
I've had two of my movies butchered too. So I think
Okay, so they're going to go on a little bit of a tangent about how his movies were butchered by studios. And then how also, now I'm not going to play this whole thing. It's annoying. I'll just I have a bunch of tweets, and I have a bunch of them in order, and we'll go through the whole shenanigans. But basically, this guy makes the argument that, oh, he made this movie called Hard Kill with Bruce Willis. Hard Kill. Let's go to the guy's website. What's up, James and Charlie? Hollywood studios should learn how to deal with criticism. I agree. Dick Masterson was defending Madam Web? No way, James. I don't believe that's crazy. So here's Joe Russo. Okay. The horror guy, not the Captain America guy. Because Joe Russo, the Russo brothers directed Winter Soldier. But he doesn't say that on his Twitter. He just whatever. Anyway. So here's his feature films. Nightmare Cinema. This is a Shudder exclusive. I haven't watched it. I'm sort of certified fresh Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know about it. And then there's another one, Alper Nightmare, French movie. I don't know. And then Hard Kill, which is right behind my head, with Bruce Willis. Now this movie, written by Joe Russo, blah, 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 theatrical release, number 2 on Netflix. This movie, to be fair, he talked about how his script got messed up and like rearranged, and they cut things out, and the studio was like, we don't want, he had this like artificial intelligence villain or something in the movie, and they took it out. And then Bruce Willis also, there was controversy because he has dementia or something, and then anyway, this movie was bad, and then he's basically saying that it's not bad because of him, it's bad because of the studio's intervention. Now, maybe he's right. I didn't watch the movie, and from what it sounded like, he was talking about a lot of top-down studio intervention, which is bad, and it probably made the movie worse. Does that mean the movie will be good if it wasn't intervened upon? No, it doesn't. But whatever, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Anyway, that's this guy's bio and career. I just wanted to know who, so you to know who you were dealing with. So he tags us, right? He tags us. This is my response. All right, Mark, a bunch of people commented. Meanwhile, the writer's other films. Anyway, I said, I listened. This is crazy, guys. I said, I listened to this. While you make some understandable points, I don't think you addressed much of anything beyond explaining to absolute normies how the industry vaguely works. Because I have done my research. I know how the industry works. Okay. And I understand studio intervention. I get it. If you're a normie, maybe you don't. Which is fine because there's a lot of ignorant people, but yeah, I have a million retorts to what you talked about. Now, want to come on a stream and dive deeper. Now, this is the reason I asked him to come on, was because a day before, I had this guy on. This guy, or no, I didn't. I did get this guy on the stream. It was, but it's not my stream. It's Little Platoon and Movie Cynic. They have a fantastic weekly stream called Be Sub. Everybody go sub to it. Oh, I'm not even sub to it, but I'm on it. So I gotta I'll stop. There we go. But we had this guy on and we had a productive conversation. Let me go to where he comes on quick. This is interesting. Okay. Very interesting.
Someone said, "Oh, you're a coward. Get on the stream." I'm like, "Come on!" I come from hip hop.
He comes on, and somebody called him a coward, and he's like, "You know what? I'll go on the stream," because he wasn't going to come on either, by the way, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But
call me boom or whatever. I come from the
but
90s
like
where
yes,
if you Google me,
let me go fast speed just a little bit.
You know what I'm saying?
There is a.
So someone coming at you on Twitter as opposed to actually being in your face.
Yeah.
Like I'm not afraid to be on. But
well,
and again, you know, Lofty and I talked, and you know, we bro hugged and made up. I mean, what?
Yeah, he's like Lofty and I talked, we bro hugged, we made up. Look, guys, Twitter. Well, he might even say it right here.
I'm angry anyway. So I apologize for any kind of snarkiness because.
Hey, Twitter is a cesspool of exaggerated, like bait, snarky, tough guy, bullshit. Everybody knows it. I know it. And to be fair, we were both being snarky, but he. Well, let's go to it. Here we go. And then we'll go right back to the other guy. I just wanted to set this up because it parallels the other guy in an interesting way. So he says to this imagine being this guy retort. This is the Luke Cage creator on Netflix. You mean 6 movies with his name on the poster? Legend. You don't understand the battles, man. You just and just how hard it is to get one movie made. Who knows if those films reflect his scripts at all? So that's his response. And then I gave a response. I'll read it in a second. And then we had a back and forth about here's the other one. Then we had this. I'm just explaining how he got on the stream. Okay. I said, LOL, simply being a multimillionaire while contributing nothing of cultural value, your words, not mine, doesn't even warrant relevant status, let alone legend. And then he says, you want to come at me? I'm here under my name. I actually have time today. So it was like it's funny. I don't know. And then, so he's like, you could call me on my phone if you want. I'm sick of it. I was like, I'm on live stream. Eventually I called him and then we got him to come on the show. But this is all like just the stuff that happened up prior to that, which is, if it's not really important, but it's funny because we were just kind of beefing back and forth for a bit. But then we bro hugged it, like he said, and then he came on and we had a long, what is this? 220, yeah, like an hour and a half long conversation with Little Platoon, with Jedi Brooks, Vex, Movie Cynic. Very interesting. I come from the hip hop world. Yeah, I don't even know. I guess, yeah. So that parallels interestingly with the other guy. Where's the other guy? Let me go back to the other guy. I asked this guy to come on, right? And then he didn't respond, so I asked him in a different way. Oh no, I asked him twice. Before I watched it and after. I said, I'll give it a listen. I said, we just had on the creator of Luke Cage TV show on our stream. We talked about it for a good 2 hours. Great discussion. I don't think you're quite understanding our perspective, to be honest. This is after he tagged me and Gary and told us to listen to his podcast. I said, would love to chat if you're also interested in going on fan streams to discuss this misaligned communication between audiences and industry creatives. Which is true. There's a very big misalignment. And I think more people should be like this guy, the Luke Cage guy, and, be cool and come on streams and have chats with fans, right? And I don't know if there's like this. I don't know. What do you guys think? Maybe it's because we have a bad reputation, or is it because sometimes a lot of the times though, like Collider, for example, will get a, they'll talk to any celebrity. They'll go on to Collider and talk. But, you know, these weird niche, these like niche communities that we're, you know, that I'm in, and Nerdrotics and Geeks and Gamers and Eric July, like, I guess we're too edgy or something. I don't know. I don't quite understand it. But I think it's good to come on and not just go on shows that are going to like sing your praises, right? Didn't respond for a long time and was actually yelling at other people and yelling at people in the comments. This guy's just yelling at people constantly. Okay. And then someone says, I love how he didn't reply to this. This is, guys, this is like kind of why I wanted to talk about this, because his response was, this is Joe Russo. I don't need to do his stream. Everything that needs to be said is on my podcast. I can't help it if you're too dense to understand it. So like, let me turn my music back up just a little bit. But like, guys, what the hell kind of response? I literally was polite. I was very polite here. I didn't say anything rude. And in the other one, I didn't even say anything rude. You know what I mean? I said I listened. I told him I listened to it. This is a Hollywood industry person. Why are they behaving like this towards fans? Why? And this is like not even the first part of it, because before that, you know, the whole thing before that. Let me actually go to the initial thing that he said. He was already antagonizing fans. Let me see if I can find it. Bum ba-dum bum bum bum. There's also a lot of drama. It's hard to keep track of all the drama. But he basically called us trolls. He called us trolls. Here it is. Let's see if it's blah blah blah. Here it is. It's actually on my thumbnail, including a picture of the guy that I found at the writer's strike. This guy, Joe Russo, writer's strike, holding up a sign that says, on my YouTube thumbnail, that says, I still want to see Batgirl. Anyway, he says, if you Twitter trolls, oh, this is after Jay Longbone. That's right. My girl. Talking about Chris Stuckman. Anyway, if you talking about, we're all just trolls. And unless we make a movie, right? Unless we make a movie ourselves, then we're just going to be keeping trolls. And if we make a movie, if you actually learn how hard it is to make a movie, blah, 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 you too would be like Chris Stuckman. Like, what this is just beyond delusional. In many ways. So that's how it started. And then like, let's see here. Whoopsies. So anyway, didn't want to come on my stream. Fine. That's okay. Then he calls me then he says this, I have brain rot. Okay. So I have brain rot apparently. Oh wait, that's not even the one. Hold on. Is this the one? Oh yeah. This is right before it. This blame the writers thing. Do trolls have another troll thing? Do trolls have jobs with bosses? Why are we blaming creatives and not executive meddling? I've read Matt's writings on 2 of these. He's talking about this guy. They're friends, I guess. It's good. It's good, and not what's on screen. There's so much wrong with this. I want to talk about all of this. He keeps working because he's great. Okay, number one. Okay, just because we're trolls, because we're making fun of the guy. I get whatever. Why are we blaming creatives and not executive meddling? Well, I'll tell you why. Because we blame. I can only speak for myself and everybody that I follow. Okay. And all the streams that I appear on, and you know, and Geeks and Gamers and Friday Night Tights, never been on there, but maybe I will. But like, all of these people are constantly blaming executive meddling, like 24/7. This is just a lie. Like, it's like a false dichotomy. Why are we blaming creatives and not executive meddling? Well, hey Joe, why can't we do both? By the way, Joe, if you're watching, because I don't know if you like search your name or something, feel free to tag in and come on stream if you want. I'll try to get you one. It might have to be Discord. But like, that's dumb. And then I'm a very bad troll, Charlie. Yeah. Anon says making music is hard. Don't in the chat. Doesn't mean I go play shit show at open mic and get praised for it. Yeah. It's crazy. What's up, Flaccid? Sounds like Joe is crushing you. He's just, bro, he's rolling me in the dirt and just stepping on my face. Actually, no, he's embarrassing himself. We'll get to all of it. We'll talk about all of it because it's crazy. So apparently he's read Matt's scripts. We have to understand this guy's like, whatever, sticking up for his friend or somebody in the industry. It could be anyone. It could be something. And then he says it's good and not what's on screen. Okay. And he keeps working because he's great. I think Disparu quote tweeted this. I thought I did. But here's my point. Let me just say this. If the original script of a movie is good, and then the final movie that was like chopped up and ruined by a producer is bad, that's fine. That happens all the time, right? We're not saying that never happens. Now, to be fair, what we are saying, and I'm speaking for myself, I don't see how it's possible for any version of that Madam Web script to be good. And Little Platoon in this, I'll play parts of this because I have timestamps that I want to talk about. Little Platoon makes a good point somewhere where he says something like, basically the entire 100% of the movie is terrible. So it's like, let's figure this out. What percentage of, like realistically, what percentage of a movie that is bad is different than the script, than the initial script? It sounds like this person's saying 100%. It's good and not what was on screen. So to me, it sounds like he's saying 100% of Morbius or of Madam Web or of Dracula Untold or Gods of Egypt is not on screen. And he's a great writer, actually. Now, it's just hard to imagine because, like, what are the odds that, number one, why is this guy even in the industry and getting credited if nothing he ever writes appears on screen? That to me is just impossible. It's just impossible. You know, I would probably make a guess or something if I had to make a guess, like maybe 60% of his script is in Madam Web, or maybe not Madam Web. Let's go back to like Morbius or some of his other movies. I don't know, maybe the studio meddled with it a lot and then cut out 40% of his script and changed a lot. That's still 60% bad writing. Now, in the case of Madam Web, 100% of the movie is terrible. 100%. Every dialogue, every scene, the characters, the plot, all of it. It's terrible. So if he's responsible for 50% of it, even 20% of it, I mean, it's trash. He didn't improve it. It's still terrible. Anyway, that's just one little thing that I wanted to bring up. Let's see what else we have to bring up here. So he said I have brain rot. Then he said this. Let's do this one. All right. I blame auteur theory. Oh, this is because I responded. I said, be honest. Oh, this is kind of what I was just saying, actually. Are you saying Matt didn't write any of these lines of dialogue? Not even, like, if not, who wrote it? Then I'll laugh at that writer instead. Right? That's just, it's like, if the guy wasn't involved at all, why is he credited? And then why is he not talking about, like, not being open about how he wasn't involved? I said critiquing dialogue has been acceptable for decades. It's possible to do this and critique Sony at the same time. And then I listed a bunch of bad lines of dialogue, right? Here's one. The villain just like betrays like his lover and in the movie and poisons her to death. And he has these premonitions of his future and his future death, but she doesn't. So he says, it's a good thing. Oh, I'll say it like he said it. He goes, "It's a good thing. You had no idea today was the day you were going to die." It's a terrible line of dialogue. It's way worse in the movie, by the way. And all this shit's bad, man. Right? So then he says, I blame auteur. I can explain this. I blame auteur theory for this brain rot. He called me brain rot. Oh, wait, that's not even it. Let's go find it. Shit. This is so much to talk about. So I was giving examples of the dialogue. What I responded to when he said the blaming the writer thing is bonkers. Sorry if this is a schizo stream, guys. This guy is schizo. This guy is schizo. It's not my fault. Then I said, are you saying that A, there's no such thing as bad writers? Because look what he said. Why are we blaming creatives and not executive meddling? Well, are you saying we can never blame creators? Like, what are you saying? So I said, he's basically saying there's no such thing as bad writers. Matt didn't write anything at all that appeared in the movie because he said none of it was on screen. None of it was on screen. And then he's saying studios are always 100% of the time solely responsible for subpar media. Like, what the heck? Right? That's kind of what he's saying here, guys. And I'm just trying to get him to like meet in the middle, because when you argue with somebody or when you're trying to have a dialogue with somebody, it's a good thing to do is to like, okay, present them. I'm sort of presenting what he said, and I want him to like walk it back because, but he didn't. And he said, I blame auteur theory for this brain rot. Aside from a small group of filmmakers, most creatives are subject to what execs want to do with the movie. Make their changes, or they'll replace you with someone who will. Bad writers almost never make it inside studio gates. Holy shit. I had to drink my coffee, guys. There's a lot going on here. So, then I did the thing where I'm like, then I responded. And he said, unless we read all the drafts, I have no idea if they wrote these lines or not. I can tell you, though, I have execs tell me exact lines of dialogue they want in screenplays right before production. Guys, we have to be nuanced. He's not being nuanced, but we have to. Clearly, he's right. Executives do this all the time. I've seen it. I've heard actors talk about it. I've heard actors, overwrite writers. Actor will come up with their ad lib, or a studio exec will be like, well, who's Ben Parker? We need to have a dialogue about Peter Parker so that audience understands blah, 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 blah. And like some dumb studio executive who, like, maybe they forced some of this bad dialogue. It's very possible, right? And then Little Platoon talks about in this video how probably the Pepsi sign that smashes the villain in the face at the end of the movie was influenced by the studio. Probably. Right, obviously, actually. Product placement. But like, let me get rid of this one. But like, where was I at? But like, not 100% of the time, right? So we talked about this. Let me see if I can go back to, we're gonna come back to this Joe Russo guy because he's a crazy person. But I want to show you a clip from the other guy as a stark, what's the word I'm looking for? Like how to do it correctly, how to interact with fans correctly, which is this guy.
I apologize for
which is this guy right here. And let me find the timestamp because I saved a picture of it. Okay. 2:54. Let's go to it.
In the film, I would agree with you if it comes to picking out an individual name from a credits roll and saying that person is responsible for the complete shit show that was Ant-Man 3. That would be
so. Platoon's going to do a nice little analogy here, or let's listen to Platoon. Hey, what's up, Sherry and Zach? Hey, what's up, Zax? Bagface is here. Holy crap, everybody's here. And Godzilla. Chris lost credibility back when we reviewed Ghost in the Shell. Ooh, didn't watch that one. Yeah.
cruel because loads of people were involved in how shit that film turned.
Contrast, Gord King. That's right. It's a good contrast between how you're supposed to interact with fans and how you're not, which is Joe, the other guy.
Out to be. But I think it's, I mean, I don't know if you would agree. Is it still fair, though, to blame the writers collectively or writing in general if the writing in the finished product, no matter how many of them were involved, is subpar?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. It's like, okay, a film is written 3 times. A film is written when it's actually written, like the actual.
So Platoon asked him just a simple question: if there's 7 writers involved or 5 writers, at what point can we just criticize their performance? Are they held responsible at all? And Chio came back with to be fair, in the beginning of this interview, he's playing playing defense for his people, but this is his response.
Screenplay. Then there's actually what gets filmed, and then the final process is post.
Yeah. So he says the script goes through iterations. It's edited. There's a draft and there's an edit, and then there's during filming things happen differently, and then in post production scenes get cut, rearranged. He's right about all that.
And so post is not only in terms of picking which performance and which lines make it and all that kind of stuff. Also, now what happens so many of the times, because there's so much money involved, people will go back and reshoot entire scenes, and they might not be following every little bit of granular bit of continuity the same way that we as geeks are just plugged into every aspect of a movie. And
so that's his little response, which is fine.
It makes it that process.
I think Platoon responds
specific to it, like what happened.
I want to see if I can get to it
with everybody.
He gives examples.
But I think going back to the point of the conversation, which is, I would have no trouble saying that Andor is a well-written show and the writers generally did a really good job, and you can tell that Tony Gilroy's influence is there because there's a commonality between what he writes for Andor and what he writes for everything he does. You can see the influence of the creator there, so he gets the praise because it's very, very good. I guess what we're arguing, boiled down to its essentials, is that we can make the same judgment the other way. If you take a director or a writer who's involved in so many bad products and you see the similarities in all those bad products, J.J. Abrams is a good example of a director in that mold. There will be good examples of writers as well. Is it equivalently fair just to say, you know what, he's been involved in so many bad things and they're bad in the same ways, so I'm going to say that he's a bit shit. Is that fair?
That's totally fair, Platoon. What are you talking about? Why do you even ask that question? That's a dumb question. Well,
or what about a case like Ryan, where we know that
or Ryan Johnson, right? So he defends it. He does a little defense, right? Then I want to go to 3 minutes because there's another little interesting. I can't remember why I pulled these up, but.
But here's the thing. Okay, well, can you blame Ryan for those decisions?
Yeah. Oh,
yes, but here's the thing.
Oh yeah,
Ryan, as director,
Ryan Johnson, Star Wars,
stands by those choices, and there are some very good moments in that movie.
I don't care if he stands by it. I'm talking about whether or not we can hold him accountable for the right.
Another thing you have to keep in mind. Another thing you have to keep in mind is a lot. It's not. I think you said this earlier. It's like we're solely attacking one person, or we're solely. Oh, somebody in chat said this. Yeah, you could criticize both. That's kind of what I say here, and then he responds. No, fans, at least in this community and people that I've talked to, we are wholly aware of how bad the studio system is. We we criticize Disney and Sony more than anything on the planet Earth probably. So we're aware of this. This is compartmentalized, right? Like we can do one multitask, right? We can attack the studio system, Sony especially, for doing so many PG-13 projects when they should probably be rated R. Like there's very safe and boring. Dakota Johnson said this. It's okay to attack the studio system and also separate the studio system from the creative people involved, like Ryan Johnson, or writers who have control over how characters are presented and change from the source material.
It's like if the studio says that you have to play with these specific toys, but you have the choice as to how you play with those toys and what stories you put those toys into. So the studio can absolutely be, and I would share your blame of the studios for their decisions that they made with the Star Wars films, but I think that's secondary to the real question, which is that, given that the studio said you must have X characters in this and we want new blood, so you must have these new younger cast as well.
Yep.
Still, the decisions were made first by J.J. Abrams, then by Ryan Johnson, then by J.J. again, which is the studio's fault. But those decisions were made writing-wise by Ryan Johnson and J.J. Abrams. We would be I would be at least, more critical of the writing decisions than I would of the studios, if only because it's in response to the writing decisions that the studio tried to reverse ferret for The Rise of Skywalker and bring JJ back, because...
Okay, this is why I wanted to go. I was trying to figure out why I went to this timestamp. This is a brilliant argument from Platoon. Listen to this.
You had The Force Awakens, which was not particularly good, I wouldn't have said, but popular. The Last Jedi comes out. Decisions are made by Rian Johnson as the writer for that film, and they are controversial to say the least, and I would say objectively flawed decisions as well. That film was immensely divisive, and a bid to try and recapture the universal adoration of the franchise fan base, they brought back the director who did the last popular one again. But that's a response to Rian Johnson's writing decisions, isn't it?
Oh, baby. So, I don't know if you followed all of that, but basically what he's saying is not, let's just break this down quickly. The Star Wars trilogy, the new one, there was no creative this guy even says this. This guy doesn't even really like the new trilogy, apparently. He's being honest. I like this guy. He's honest. He likes parts of it, but whatever. He's disappointed as a fan. But anyway, there's no creative vision. There's no unifying vision. They brought in Abrams did the big, revival, and that's his baby. And then Rian Johnson comes in. And from all that we know is, he had free reign to kind of do what he wanted with all these characters. And, why do we know this? Because he killed off Snoke, and apparently JJ didn't even want him to do that. And it's like, and then JJ had to come back with, and not just killing off Snoke, by the way. There's a million things that Rian Johnson, it's Rey's backstory. Everybody already knows all these things. I'm not going to reiterate them. But then you go to The Rise of Skywalker, and the studio says, we need to recapture the magic of The Force Awakens, or we need to do something because The Last Jedi is too controversial. So that's an example of studios interfering. However, they're interfering because Rian Johnson wrote a shitty story that didn't appeal to the majority of fans. And that's the writing, guys. That's what we're talking about. It's like, you could talk about the studio interference and blame Rise of Skywalker failure on pandering way, way, way too much, bringing back Palpatine because Abrams, the producer, thought, we need nostalgia or whatever he thought was stupid. But all the things that he did is in response to the writing decisions of Rian Johnson. Can we all agree about this? Right? So in this case in particular, it is fair, completely fair to criticize Rian Johnson as a writer, storyteller, whatever you want to call it. Some people don't even include that in they think it's a different, like, writers are not storytellers or something. I've had arguments with that about people. Palpatine. I just wanted to play his response.
JJ already, as a writer, as a director, he's like a force of nature, right? Mm-hmm. So he was already involved.
By the way, we got like 45 people here. Thank you. That's more than I usually get. But thanks everybody for being here. And on Twitter, I love everybody here. I love you guys almost as much as I like the blue milk. Oh, I'm drinking some blue milk right now.
From the very beginning, in terms of rebooting.
Just kidding, it's coffee.
And so to say that they brought him back for the third movie, and as a producer, he was always going to be involved. And it was really a question of his schedule and certain other things, but whether or not he was coming back. Because you have to understand, for each movie at that level that's being made is taking a year to year and a half out of your life.
So this is a little bit meandering. I think he understands what we're saying, and it's hard for him to respond because Platoon made like a banger argument. Let me go to this one, and then we're gonna go back to Joe, this other guy who is all he had to do was come on a stream. It could be any stream, and talk to fans in a way like this to explain, instead of forcing. Did you see this? I think I played this earlier. Telling us to go listen to his dumb Apple podcast where he talks about this. And then he says, and I brought this quote up earlier. He was like, I've said all I have to say on my podcast about this. And if you didn't listen, you're being obtuse. It's like, well, you can't possibly say all you have to say in a 50-minute podcast where the first 20 minutes are jokes. we didn't even say all we had to say in a 90-minute stream with like long form dialogue. Anyway, this is such a much better.
This is somebody else.
You still haven't answered the question.
If I'm answering your question and you don't like the way that I'm answering your question, you keep accusing me.
This is a little bit of drama. A little drama between Jedi and
me of dodging your question doesn't make any damn sense because I've answered it 4 different ways.
No, I was asking you to answer Platoon's question. This is how I know like you're tilted here. It wasn't my question. You ignored a very good point that he made, and then you moved on to something that you had already mentioned.
Well, to be fair, to be fair,
so
ganging up on somebody.
I'm not ganging up. I'm asking a very
I'm
question.
just saying.
So what is your specific question?
What was your response to Platoon's point?
I mean, the lightsaber's in your hand. What's your question?
I'll repeat it again since you talked over me.
Please do.
Basically, what was your response to Platoon's question? Because it was a
okay. I just wanted to play that because that's as dramatic as it got the whole time, right? It's just like, you know, and this guy's cool. He said he comes from hip hop era, right? The RZA, Wu-Tang, but that's what he said. So it's just friendly banter, whatever, I guess, or it's not friendly, but it's like it's not a big deal. Now let me play one more clip. Well, there's 2 more, but I'll play one more for now. 7. You guys can watch this whole thing. I think it's going to be on Friday, Platoon's channel, and it's already up here.
Or their director to make the
very interesting stream. I love this conversation.
Decisions that even I, as a fan, didn't necessarily like. But here's the thing about it is that just because we didn't.
Flaccid, thank you for reminding me. Everybody hit the like button, please. That would be very helpful. If you're enjoying the stream.
Didn't like those decisions, does that mean it's a poor screenplay?
Yes. Can I just say wait a minute.
Or their director to make decisions that even I, as a fan,
pay attention to his question here.
Didn't necessarily like. But here's the thing about it is that just because we didn't like those decisions, does that mean it's a poor screenplay? Because if you read the screenplay,
Can I just because he asked the question, just because we didn't like the choices they made, does that make it a poor screenplay? There's more context behind this, but obviously, let me go back slightly. Sorry.
It wasn't just the studio choices they made was because
the context is relevant.
Of the poor writing. That's a significant factor in the things.
It wasn't poor writing. It was decisions that were made that didn't work. So perfectly.
Okay, that's a little strange. I'm telling you guys, this is how I'm not pointing the finger at this guy. What I'm saying is this is kind of how writers and people in the industry talk about their work and like defend each other from criticism. It's like it's not poor writing, it's bad decision making. And that's such a fluffy, vague, just nonsense. You can't even falsify whatever he just said. Like, it's just like, oh, okay, somebody made bad decisions, therefore movie bad. Like, no, we can criticize the writing.
Example this is answering your question directly, because what I'm saying is that movie got greenlit. Enough people read that script and thought at the time, this is the way that we're going with this, because they empowered their director to make decisions that even I, as a fan, didn't necessarily like. But here's the thing about it is that just because we didn't like those decisions, does that mean it's a poor screenplay? Because if you read the screenplay,
can I? So you got the context here. I think Platoon and somebody I might respond. Just say just because a bunch of corporate executives greenlight a script doesn't mean that said script is was a good go ahead to be greenlit. Would you agree with that? Like a script can be terrible.
But again, okay.
Yeah. Like the script can be bad.
Studio is different, okay? Because when you're talking about corporate execs, when it comes to the Star Wars trilogy, it's Kathleen Kennedy, it's J.J. Abrams, it's Rian Johnson. It's a very small committee of people, okay? And so what they thought they were going for,
all those people we criticized, by the way,
was different than how people regarded it.
I mean,
I think that I didn't agree with a lot of decisions in that movie. Mm-hmm. But am I going to say that Rian Johnson is a bad writer or a bad director? No, I'm not.
Well, can I get specific just on?
That's crazy to me, man. It's crazy. Now, it just might be bad phrasing on his part. I'm still giving this guy benefit of the doubt because he came on and had a great, was willing to chat with us. I'll play a little bit more of this, and then we'll go back to making fun of the other guy.
On that point, because this might be helpful, because I think you said before that, you know, some of the people, particularly in studios and executive positions, are not quite so clued in on things like, you know, canon and continuity as fans are, which I think you said, and I think I would agree with that, and that's a fair point to make. That, I would say, makes the position of the writer much more important, because the writer's job, certainly in the case of The Last Jedi, if Rian Johnson is principally responsible for the script that comes out, his job is to do what the studio executives are incapable of doing, which is paying attention to things like canon, continuity, character decisions, mechanics, and things like that, the things that make Star Wars films work fundamentally. When Rian Johnson does, to take just one very specific example, there's the hyperspace ramming sequence in The Last Jedi.
Yeah, so I won't play more of this clip, but like basically he says the writing, the actual writing. People, I don't know. People have like different definitions of this word or something, but like writing a hyperspace suicide thing into a movie is not just like executive wanted flashy scenes, so we had to we our hands were tied behind our back. We had no choice but to write that scene in the movie. No, that's an example of bad writing where it introduces continuity issues with the Star Wars lore, right? And with the prior films. And there could have been other things that they could have done if they wanted a big flashy space like explosion or something, whatever they wanted. They could have done a million things. But they chose to write something that was bad. It's clearly the writer's problem. Now, one more 316. This was an interesting. This was interesting. I think I can't remember.
Though
what
it got butchered and a semblance of it got made, they're making a living at writing as opposed to doing something else.
That's fair.
I mean, if someone, right now, would you ask someone playing for the Carolina Panthers?
Okay. I guess we'll wrap this up because this is the last part I wanted to show with the stream, and I just wanted to say, I'm glad this guy came on again. I keep saying that, but he makes an analogy of sports. How many sports people in the chat? Are you guys sports fans? This analogy, it both makes sense and it doesn't make any sense at the same time. Platoon actually explains it a little bit better than I do, but I go in a different direction.
Which are like probably the worst team in football right now. Like, okay, why do you want to come back and train and run around and get in shape and just to lose?
I mean,
oops. Because the analogy, you love playing football. You know what I'm saying? And right.
What he's saying, right, is as a writer, you're like an athlete. And if you get benched or if your team is, your team is horrible, the Carolina Panthers are terrible and like they're not winning. And wait, let me go back slightly.
They would almost be like buddy right after the fight, because
I know
once somebody got in the ring and once you go through what you've gone through in this weird way, it bonds everybody from that experience. And so when you ask somebody why they go back, it's because they're still living their dream. They got to write something, and even though it got butchered and a semblance of it got made, they're making a living at writing as opposed to doing something else.
That's fair.
If right now, would you ask someone playing for the Carolina Panthers, which are like probably the worst team in football right now? Like, okay, why do you want to come back and train and run around and get in shape and just to lose?
Yeah, because we were saying, why does this guy? Platoon was saying, why does this guy keep coming back to the Hollywood system? The Matt Sazama, the guy who did the Morbius and Madam Web and Gods of Egypt and Dracula Untold and Power Rangers and The Last Witch Hunter. Why is he if his projects keep getting butchered and destroyed, why does he keep coming back and doing this again and participating in this horrible system? And he's like, well, it's like a sports team. Like if your sports team is failing, you love what you do. You're still, putting your effort out there and getting, recognition for your effort and things like that. But his analogy falls apart. And I talk about analogy.
You love playing football. You know what I'm saying? And writers, regardless of how they treat it, they love writing. So
I'm with that, but like using that same analogy, let's say, I'm not familiar with what Americans call sport is alien to me in this country. But taking the example of the bad football player, that he loves what he's doing, and I completely support him in doing what he loves to do. But the fans are sitting there having paid good money to sit in the stands watching him lose every game because he's actually a pretty crap player. Can those two things exist at the same time? Like,
Sorry.
he's absolutely at liberty to do what he loves doing, and that's the reason he does it. But he's objectively just not very good at it, and we can criticize that. I mean, is that fair?
That's a good argument, which is you criticize bad athletes. You don't make fun of them. You're just like, well, that guy's not very good. That's why he's underperforming. That's why he's like, we do this. The guy tried to make it a sports analogy and it just backfired a little bit on him. And it's like, that's not a great analogy because that's exactly what we do in every other situation, every other job. We do it with politics. If a politician is not competent, like, they're not competent. It's like, we don't make excuses for these people, except apparently with writers in Hollywood. But then I take it in a little bit of a different direction because it also doesn't really make sense. But that's how athleticism works. Athletics is a bad comparison. Yeah. Athletics is a bad comparison because you were making the argument that you said this in your tweet, that who knows if those films reflect his scripts at all. You're not making the argument that he's doing his best and his best work is being displayed on the field. You're making the argument that he's doing his best and nobody knows what his best even is. You can't compare these two things. You're saying he should be proud of his work and that's why he's doing it. If I was him, okay, before I go on to the next part, what I'm saying here is, as an athlete, you're putting yourself out there and your work is on the field and everybody sees it. And like you're doing your best and everybody knows that you're doing your best. And it's visible. Like, if you're not good enough, you're not going to succeed. This guy is saying the opposite. This guy's actually saying writers in Hollywood are doing their best, but it's getting subverted by studios. They're doing their best work, but the studio keeps intervening and changing their scripts around. That's not the same as an athlete doing his best and just not being good enough, and then he's benched. Like, it's incomparable. And then I talk about, like, this is an interesting. Like, let me know what you guys think, because this is my opinion. But I'm sorry, I would be talking about how my career is being destroyed by these whatever executives that you want to talk about that are ruining his career. I would be very unhappy about it. I don't understand this like, oh, I'm just going to keep doing bad. I'm going to keep making bad movies, even though I know that my work is going to be subverted and destroyed over and over and over and over again. That is not how sports works. That is not the best athletes rise to the top in every sport. So at the end, I said, I was like, the best athletes rise to the top in every sport. Basically, if the Hollywood system was fair, that's the last thing I'll play, and then we're going to go back to the other guy. But if the Hollywood system was fair and whatever, just, then the best writers wouldn't rise to the top. They sort of do anyway. But when your script is getting rewritten and stuff, and like, and your career is getting like kind of, people think that you're an embarrassing writer, but it's really not your fault because you wrote a good script and they changed it. Why would you be okay with that? Doesn't make any sense at all. And apparently this guy is okay with it. So he's not talking about, are there examples of people coming out and talking about how, I guess Del Toro is one of them. He talks about how Hollywood messes with his scripts and stuff all the time. But like, if that's actually happening, that needs to change from the inside. That's something that they have to work on. They have to like figure out how to fix it. But yeah, but yeah, I just thought that was dumb. Where we at? Edgar Wright walked away from Ant-Man for a reason. Yeah. People walk away. Yeah, people do this. This happens in Hollywood. If I was that guy, the Madam Web guy and the Morbius guy, oh boy, like, unless he's happy with his job, with his work, which he seems to be, because he's not saying anything. Let me bring this up. Okay. Now that you've seen all of this, that's why I wanted to play all this, because this makes even less sense now. Peter, friend of mine, says, "Hey Joe." This is Joe Russo, the guy, the rude guy. The writer. If you're just joining, he wrote a movie with Bruce Willis, and he's very rude. I asked him to come on my stream, just like that other guy, and he refused. Peter says, "Lofty would treat you completely fairly, and give you your full say." Whatever. I would, and I appreciate the sentiment. But I said I'm not sure I'm sure he knows this, because right before this, I sent him this link to this video and I explained. I was like, guys, we're not these toxic trolls that you think we are. Like, we'll talk to you. We'll talk to you. And we're not gonna we're not trolls. We actually care about movies. Like, people think we don't care. People think we're just like trolls or whatever. But I said, no, we're like, where's it at? Here we go. I already referenced another writer who we can just have a good who we just had a good conversation with. I just don't think he believes in his own opinions enough to have them challenged on a stream in front of people. And this is, so I'm being a little snarky, but this is way after he was just constantly being rude. And then he says this: I believe in my opinions completely. I also believe my time is more valuable than arguing with people who don't want to hear the truth about how movies are made. Oh my God. So this is it. I sent him a 2-hour, 23-minute mark, an entire stream dedicated to wanting to hear the truth about how movies are made, with a writer who actually gave us the benefit of the doubt, and the conversation was pleasant. But go off and fabricate villains if it's more fun for you. So he's wrong. He's wrong in two different ways. He says he doesn't want to waste his time arguing with people who don't want to hear the truth about how movies are made. We already established that's completely, he's just a straw man. And number two, he says his time is more valuable than arguing with people. Guys, look at this. Look what this guy's been doing. And people in the chat, you guys know, some of you were arguing with him also. But he's been doing nothing but arguing with people nonstop for the past day. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. All this stuff, just bullshit. Listen to the podcast before tweeting. Blah, blah, blah. Do you not enjoy paying your bills? Do you quit your job the moment your boss asks you to blah, 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 blah? Like, guys, this goes on and 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 on. He's just doing what he just said he doesn't want to do, which is wasting his time arguing with people. So he's a loser. Then we're going to get to Chris Stuckman. Right? What's up, chat? He's right. What's he right about? You just wait. You just want to shit on it. Wait, Squall. Wait, hold on a minute. Squall, you have to explain yourself. Lofty Pixels in sports, and if an athlete writer is having that many problems with the team or coach producer, then he needs to walk away and make a change to his regiment. Yeah. Or be okay with people criticizing his script, or Anyway, he says this, right? Somebody makes a good point. Let's see here. I'm listening now, and when you said the system has been designed, he's listening to our video, to keep bad writers out. Oh, that's what he said in this podcast, guys. I'm not joking. In this podcast, this guy said that bad writers are incapable of making it into the system. Let me go try and find this. Because it's worth it. It's worth it. Well, Gary responded to me. Here it is. Oh no, this was way back in the day. Let me go back. Oh, this movie was delayed, guys, sadly. Again. January 31st, 2025. Mickey 17. Sad. I have to find this because it's Slips on Banana Peel, Aliens. I made that. Let's see here. I tagged Chris Gore in a thing. I gotta find it. He just said that, like, it's impossible for bad writers to make it into Hollywood. Which is crazy. Let's find it. It's almost here. This is getting annoying. Oh no, he's scumming the N-word. Uh-oh. Let's get back out of that one. I can't find it. You're gonna have to trust me, guys. You're gonna have to trust me. Where are we at here? Where are we at? You're just gonna have to trust me because he says this. Movies are hard to make. Well, actually, two things. The system is been designed to keep bad writing out. Okay, whatever that means. And then I said, I don't think they're speaking the same language. I think they mean bad writing as in writing that has zero proper structure. Or like, you didn't format that correctly. Like that, is that what they mean? Because this clearly, there's bad writing all over the place, right? And then he said, writing is more than formatting a script. And I said, writing a screenplay that tickles the fancy of the myriad of creatively bankrupt studio executives doesn't inherently mean you're a good writer or storyteller. And then he's like, what does it mean then? How is this? How am I wrong? Like, writing a screenplay, if he's saying that it's really hard to get a screenplay greenlit because you got to be a good writer to get a screenplay greenlit because they're not just going to pick any old writer. There's a million writers. They're only going to pick the best ones. Well, he asked me what that means, and I said it could mean a number of things. You could have a great idea that needs reworked. Like, let's say you have a bad script, but a great idea, like something like, I don't know, like Alien versus Predator or something. And they're like, hey, well, we're going to get your script, but we're going to rewrite it. So that's an example of a bad writer with a good idea getting hired in Hollywood. That's one example. You could have a great script that the studio wants to butcher. That's an example of a good writer getting hired and then getting fucked over. This happens all the time. I said you could also be a shit writer that checks all of the WGA like affirmative action quotas, or you play the nepotism game really well. Like, you know somebody, right? Oh, this is my my friend. He wants to submit a screenplay. It's really his like nephew or something. I don't even know. Or friends, you know, friends with benefits, all that stuff. Nepotism. So you could be a bad writer and just get in that way. That probably happens less often, but it definitely happens. And then you could be a shit writer. Here's another one. You could be a shit writer that a studio takes a gamble on because you wrote something that aligns closely with their safety net box office algorithms. Right? What I mean by that is, okay, studio, a Blumhouse wants a artificial intelligence. I'm just giving an example. This is my opinion. Blumhouse wants an artificial intelligence horror movie. So you write a script. It's perfect for exactly what they want. Blumhouse also knows that they care less about quality because they rely on their name brand. They rely on marketing. They rely on like gimmicks and tropes and things like that that will like get normies to go to the theater. That's what Blumhouse is famous for, by the way. I mean, Megan would be, wait, was Megan I think Megan was Blumhouse, but like movies like the Insidious movies and all that stuff, right? So they have this like thing, they have these like this like algorithm that they run. They're like, okay, this kind of movie is perfect for the algorithm. It's going to make us $50 million minimum. So they find any old writer, doesn't have to be a good writer, just any writer, and they're just like, hey, write me a script about an artificial intelligence robot. I didn't like Megan personally. I thought it was a very lame, underwhelming horror movie. It's kind of a normie movie. I mean, maybe the rated R version's better. I don't know. But that's an example. This happens all the time. It's not just Blumhouse. It's like, hey, write me a dumb romantic comedy about talking animals or something. Like, you know, they have these algorithms that they're like, oh, this will work. Find somebody. Go find a writer. You could be a shitty writer and still get hired to write a generic movie like that. I don't think I need to explain myself. That should make sense. And then finally, you could be a great writer who wrote a great script. That's another way to get into Hollywood. You're just a good writer, right? You're a great writer. I bring up Tony Kushner all the time because he writes for Steven Spielberg, and they work together. He writes all his movies, and he's a good writer. right? Tarantino is a writer director. I don't think Del Toro writes his scripts, but he collaborates with people and he picks really good writers, and anyway, so he just didn't want to respond to that either. Okay. Then he said that this might be the last thing I talk about this guy. I just wanted to explain to you how unhinged some of these Hollywood writers are. And this is not just me. He's yelling at everybody. Then he said, no, that's not what we mean. We don't mean story structure or whatever. And then he said, if it's so easy, why aren't you doing it? I hate when people make this argument, guys. It's the laziest incoherent argument. So I said, why aren't I doing what? Wasting my time writing scripts and shopping them around an industry of uncreative Wall Street executives who are actively avoiding the kinds of films that I want to see and instead funding generic slop that I have no interest in writing? Why would I participate in that? Why would I want to waste my time? Because honestly, if I want to do write a screenplay and be creative, I'm going to do something probably along the lines of like an M. Night Shyamalan or something. Like that's what I prefer how to write. I've written short stories. I don't think I would get it's just an uphill battle. It's like if I wrote a movie about the, gods of Egypt, well, maybe I would have a better opportunity. Like, I'll pitch a generic, a generic sci-fi movie. Like then you can get hired easier. Maybe, I don't know, but I don't feel like dealing with that. I just don't. Anyway, that's a stupid question. Why aren't you doing it? And then I said, honestly, it would be super interesting if you came on stream. I tried to be invited back on again, never answered. And then he kept asking me about like my he kept asking me about, there's other stuff. He was like, what have you written? Let me see your writing. And it's just like, dude, why are you so obsessed with like only taking advice or opinions from other writers? What about like actors? Like, you don't think an actor who's never written a screenplay in their life could give advice or talk about like good and bad writing in a movie because they didn't write a screenplay, so you just ignore them? Like, no, it's stupid. What? Okay, I gotta go back and read Squall Shade. Why would he waste his time coming on a stream? Because look, dude, I already said this. We had an 1.5 hour long discussion. Squall Shade is giving me some shade in the comments. I didn't say he wrote Jurassic Park. That was David Cope. I said Kushner writes a lot of Spielberg's movies. Look, Squall Shade. This is a long discussion that we had.
Because if you made hundreds of
with a writer in Hollywood, and he, at the end of the stream, he said he loved talking to us. He said he wants to come back on the stream, and maybe I can get him to go on F&T or something. I don't know. But like, what did you ask me? You said, why would he waste his time coming on a stream? I don't know, Squall Shade. Why would he waste his time yelling at people over and over again on Twitter? Like, why are you defending this guy? Are you this guy? Wait, are you Joe? Why are you defending this guy? I don't understand it. Is that a stream that has no value? Was there a solution reached? I think everybody learned some things, especially chat. Because I think people like Platoon, for example, he's very hyper aware of the industry. He knows how writing works. He knows, he's not going to probably take much away from that. But a lot of people listening to people have debates on streams take stuff away from it. This happens all the time. Why else would anybody go on any stream to talk about anything ever? I don't understand your question. Sorry, I'm just arguing with somebody in chat. I'm not defending him, just being contrarian. Oh, okay. Well, that's fair. Honey Bun, what's up? It's a circle jerk of writers. Yeah. And and then Angry. I want to bring this up. I want to pivot to Angry Joe and Chris Stuckman quickly. Let me see if I can find this. So this was interesting. I shared Angry Joe's response. Now we'll talk about this in a second because I want to show Chris Stuckman's stream first. But yeah, chat, what's going on? Why would he waste his time? Oh, sorry, I was reading an old one. Chris Stuckman, let's just play this quickly. Just the beginning, just the tip, right? I'm not playing the whole thing, just the tip. Whoa, that's louder than... That's sorry about that.
So I just saw Madam Web. There was no screening for it in my area. There were no late night showings before the day, so I had to go see it on Valentine's Day. And I thought to myself, probably not going to do a video for this one based off of what I've heard, since I do try to keep it mostly about film celebration on this channel. Having seen the film, I'm going to tell you that this is not a movie review of Madam Web. I am not about bashing filmmakers, artists. I know how hard it is to make a movie. I do not know how hard it is to make a movie under the studio system.
Okay, all right. Now, that's what everybody's kind of talking about. His little intro to this thing. Basically saying, Mahler did a whole stream, EFAP did a whole stream about this today. They broke down the whole video with Gary and Critical Drinker. I watched it. It might even still be going. Don't abandon me, please. I'm not going to be on too much longer. But like, guys, he says,
filmmakers, artists, I know Madam Web. I am not about bashing filmmakers, artists. I know how hard it is to make a movie.
All right, let's talk about this for a second. And then we're gonna get to Angry Joe's response. Whoops. Yeah. What do you guys think of this? I'm not about bashing. I'll tell you what I thought, and then maybe you can say you agree or disagree. When I heard him say that, I thought, ew. I don't know why I'm just giving you my initial reaction. I was like, ew. It's a little pathetic way of describing, I don't know. It just seems to me like he's saying either he's afraid to be mean to people, right? Or he doesn't want to be mean. I'm not about bashing filmmakers or artists. That could mean a million things. Like, people are taking, I'm taking it at face value. He's just like, he doesn't want to bash, he doesn't want to be mean to people, right? And he's associating being mean to people with film criticism. Now, he said this right, I think he said it right before.
I keep it mostly about film celebration on this channel. Having seen the film, I'm going to tell you that this is not a movie review of Madam Web. I am not about bashing filmmakers.
This is not a movie review. I'm not about bashing filmmakers. So therefore, if you do a movie review criticism, critiquing a movie, then I guess we're bashing filmmakers and artists, and we're being mean. It's like,
artists, I know how hard it is to make a movie.
Bro, oh my God, dude. We all know how hard it is to make a movie. We all know this. I hope so. We know. We know how hard it is to make a game, by the way. Also, I'm a gamer. Some companies spend 7 years making a piece of shit game. Terrible game. And I'm going to say the movie or the game. I'm going to be, I think there's nothing wrong. Well, I don't care what he does. He can do whatever he wants. I'm just saying the narrative of bashing, being mean to people is being spread around now because everybody defending Chris is essentially, he didn't say any of these things, but like, I wouldn't be surprised if he agrees with them. But here's a couple. I was like, I'm convinced when Stuckman says I'm not about bashing filmmakers and artists. He's actually saying anyone who negatively criticize art is an incel chud basement dweller. Because look, these are all people defending exactly what he was saying, right? Laza, this person's annoying. It's interesting how the people that are going after Chris are content creators that have built their careers off of harassing people that work in the industry. So I guess that's all we do is harass people that work in the industry. That's all I do. Even though I talk about movies and games that I love all the fucking time. Here's another one. This is Joe Russo again. If you Twitter trolls were like Chris and actually learned how hard it is to make a movie, instead of crying about them from your mother's basement, you would be making videos like this. I was trying to do an accurate voice representation. That's my voice acting submission for Joe Russo live action. I mean, animation. And here's another one. He's not afraid of offending creators. He just doesn't want to be another YouTube chud who just bitches and whines about everything. So it's like we're just chuds. All we do is bitch and whine. So you just want to be positive. Just don't say anything negative, or otherwise you're a chud and you're just whining. Here's Cody. This is the dumbest one in my opinion. I'll Judge Bread. What do I think of Elden Ring? I fucking love that game with a passion, and I can't wait for the new DLC. Get on EVS stream. He's able to discuss this objectively. I don't know. What does he have to say about this? I wasn't planning on going on his stream. Cody says he's actually trying to be respectful to the filmmaker while being critical of the environment it was made in. This is far more valuable. This is what actual analysis looks like, not the clickbait reactionary stuff that permeates YouTube. This is just the most obnoxious straw man. Like, this is far more valuable. What's far more valuable? Being respectful to filmmaker while being critical of the environment it was made in. How is that more valuable than critiquing the flaws of the product or the movie or the game? Just because you're being respectful, that's not value. There's no value in being respectful. That's just being respectful. There's no value in it. And then critical of the environment it was made in. Well, that's part of that is critiquing a movie, talking about its flaws, talking about maybe some studio intervention issues, which we do all the time. We talk about Disney and Kathleen Kennedy all the fucking time. This happened. They're acting like we don't even talk about this. That's what actual analysis looks like. Nope, that's not even true. Actual analysis is analyzing the movie. Analyzing the movie. That's actual analysis. That's actual analysis. You know? I just think that's stupid. But so that's, you know, what do you guys think of this? The rest of this is just him bashing Sony. He's just bashing Sony. So it's okay if you bash executives. Oh, there's a great, oh man, I'll never be able to find it. But I said something like this. It's like on Twitter, I was like, if you're not comfortable bashing writers, because you don't, I'm just using their words. Lofti, you don't know what maybe they wrote a good script and it was meddled with. Maybe like 0% of their script is in the final product. You don't know. And then I'm like, well, first of all, I doubt it. If 0% of your script is in the final product, you're not going to be credited, first of all. But also, if that's the case, are we allowed to criticize actors? What if, oh, and then people are like, there's so many factors at play. You don't understand what goes on behind the scenes. Well, fuck me. Actors get fucked over all the time. With people telling them to say stupid lines that they don't want to say, people telling them how to act. Sometimes Henry Cavill didn't do a bad job in The Witcher, but you know, sometimes an actor will be like forced to do something that is against the character. Like Jenna Ortega had to get a bunch of heat thrown at her because she took a risk and she was like, I'm not going to fucking do that. Also, editors, you know, you have 7 with David Fincher, for example, 70 takes. He does a lot of takes. Editors can butcher your own performance for you. They can pick a bad take, or they can cut. Let's say you have a really good scene and they cut the scene out. And it's like, well, fuck, I had a really good scene in that movie. Nobody knows that I'm pretty good. Well, I guess now we're not allowed to criticize actors anymore. And then I said, I guess we're not allowed to criticize executive producers anymore. Because if your argument is that factors at play complicate things, we don't understand how difficult it is to make movies. Well, to be fair to executive producers, there's a lot of pressure that comes in from DEI consultants that say you have no choice but to cast a black or this person in that role or that person in this role. You have to include a plot line that involves an LGBT person. You have to do this. You have to do that. And maybe the studio is like pressured into doing this for some reason. They're just like, well, I guess if you want to have that DEI money, we gotta do it. So I guess we can't criticize producers anymore either because they're being manipulated by the system, right? Anyway, I'm not being serious. I'm just explaining how stupid it is from like other perspectives. Charlie says, sketch, what's so what's up, Tao? Squall Shade, constructive criticism isn't negative. No, it's not. If you say negative things, you're not criticizing. That's not true. I don't know. You're contradicting yourself. Gord King says this guy is a writer and the best insult he come up with is your mom's basement. I don't understand. I don't know. Did I miss something? Ebert never criticized a movie. Yeah. So Laza. Yeah. Yeah. Let's go to Angry Joe's response. Have you seen this, guys? Props to Joe. I don't love the way he worded this. It's a little strange, but I'll just read it. But I agree with him for the most part. Chris, I have to say this, man, after being a follower and subscriber of yours for a long time, as long as I can remember. Never feel bad about or straight out refuse to criticize something harshly when that piece of media deserves it. He posted this under his YouTube channel, by the way. It's actually right here. It's actually right. Yeah, it's right here. It has like 3,000 likes. Never feel bad about straight out refuse to criticize something harshly when that piece of media deserves it. The second you do that, you are no longer a reviewer. Now, the response would be, well, Chris Stuckman said he doesn't like to do that anymore, and he's changing his review style. And he said he's no longer like a typical critic anymore. Well, I would say, why are you reviewing things at all, though? Like if you just want to be positive, be positive. Talk about, he does this on his channel. Look. He does this. Let's go to it. Dune, Grave of the Fireflies. That's an old movie. The Fugitive. Godzilla -1. Boy and the Heron. The Abyss. Spider-Man 2. Oh, that's the game. I would love to do this. I would love to go back and review Grave of the Fireflies. Like that's something that I would do. I agree with him. I think more people should be talking about movies they love at the same time as like trying to grow their channel, whatever, hit the algorithm, blah blah blah. He's already 2 million subscribers. He doesn't need to criticize things anymore just to get the algorithm. I get it. But then don't say that you're not about bashing. Like, don't construct your argument in the way that makes it sound like anybody who bashes movies is being rude, and then it's like it's a negative. It's like a negative problem. I don't know. He just did. I don't actually think he's that problematic, to be honest. I think he's just kind of a waste of. I don't really care much about. I don't think he's very talented as a critic at all. I just thought that was cringe. And then now everybody's defending him, and now everybody else is being cringe. So it's like this avalanche. But I've never really loved his scripts. I mean, his reviews, I think he's got some bad taste in like, he says, he like exaggerates how good things are sometimes. And like, maybe you think I do that or other people think, but that's just, I prefer to watch Charlie and I prefer to watch Jeremy Johns, or Moist Critical, right? Those are the people that I watch. Angry Joe does the same thing. I think he exaggerates some things. But then he says, back to Angry Joe, that's not bashing Madam Web. That's telling it like it is. And you need to continue to do that to maintain credibility. Which I agree with, right? I'm reading chat right now. IDK, how about you guys? JP Mexican in the chat says, even thing that I like a lot, I have negative things to say about it. I might even be more critical with something that I really like. That's true. Than with something that I don't really care about. That's a good point. That's fair. I do that all the time. Like if I really like something, I'll say, hey, this is not a 10 out of 10 because like Godzilla -1, for example. I really like that movie. But I'm going to be a little, I'm going to be critical of it because in order to achieve perfection, it fell a little bit short for various reasons. Mainly to do with some of the stuff in the plot. But then he says, let's go back to the thing. Madam Web, here we go. People will question if you are being kind to someone else for other reasons besides the merits of the media if you refuse to criticize harshly when warranted. And that's a big thing with Chris Stuckman because Chris Stuckman has just made a movie and he's shopping it around. He's trying to get into the industry. It's pretty obvious that he just doesn't want to ruffle anybody's feathers. It's pretty obvious. Everybody knows this. Then Joe says, Madam Web is a bait and switch. It's a waste of money. It's a blatant cash-in from untalented hacks with some of the most shockingly bad writing in any superhero film to date. People need to know that. That's true. People do need to know that. That's why you guys watch all our streams. That's why I watch Critical Drinker. That's why I watch Charlie. I like his game reviews and his movie reviews. Moist Critical. And I read other critics, separately, but I'm not going to, nobody knows who they are. I feel that because you are a filmmaker, you act as if you can't, here's the rest of it. Let me go, why is it, oh yeah. I feel that because you are a filmmaker, you act as if you can't do certain things anymore or can't do your job effectively anymore, which shouldn't at all be the case. You can do both. Who are you worried about offending so much? This video was so much soft trending when it's not warranted. You talked about everything else but this steaming pile of crap, which he did. That's funny because he says, this is the title. The title is have to talk about this right here. And then guess what? He doesn't talk about it. I have to talk about Madam Web, guys. But you know what? I'm not going to talk about it. It's cringe, man. It's pretty cringe. Let's see. We want to know what you thought of it. That's why we clicked. That's why we watch your videos. Never forget that for every shitty writer continuing to do movies like these, there are thousands of other writers and directors like yourself who are trying to make ends meet, who are far more talented and getting it passed over. That is a whole other conversation. That's very true. It's kind of, guys, I don't know. It's annoying. Maybe you probably feel the same way. I talk about this a lot. Writers like Omid Shabir Shinoy Shinakwa. I can't ever remember her name, so I just whatever off the top of my head I say it. She doesn't seem to have any merit for being where she is, which is directing the new Star Wars. Big Star Wars movie. She did documentaries. Why is she doing Star Wars? I don't know. What about all of the other talented writers in the world trying to get into the industry. What did this person, or she's a director, but like, I'm giving an example. Like, what about other talented directors? What about, you know, that to me, and it's a clear cut case of affirmative action, you know, diversity hire, squall shade. But with writing, it's even worse. Like, who's going to write? I mean, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Like, for example, the guy who wrote, I can't think. I'm brain damaged. I've been talking too much. But like, a guy who writes a bad movie keeps getting hired for all, like this guy, the Matt Sazama guy. Why would Sony hire the guy who wrote Morbius to write Madam Web, or to be a part of the Madam Web writing team? Why? I feel like that's a fair question. Like, I've never got an answer to this, except for this guy saying, trust me. This guy saying, I'll just go to it. Let's see here. He might have deleted his post. Yeah, I think he did. He's just like, trust me, I've read all of his scripts, and they're really good, guys. Trust me. They just keep getting butchered in the studio system. But trust me, they're great. He's a great writer. Okay, well, I'm not going to trust you. You're an idiot troll. You're the one calling us trolls, or me a troll. I asked you politely many times to come on my stream to talk after excuse me, after we had a nice chat with the Luke Cage creator. You know, you're the one who was like calling me a troll and saying I don't care about learning anything, and that I can watch your podcast, and that I'm being obtuse because I didn't understand what you said in your podcast, even though I watched your stupid podcast, like this thing, and you say the dumbest things. Like, you just flat out just basically say that writers are never responsible, like, ever, unless they write a good script. Then they're suddenly magically responsible for the script. If the script is great, if the movie is great, oh, the writing team was phenomenal, you know. And then when a script is bad, they go, boo Sony, boo Sony. Those writers should get a pay raise. Those writers are not bad. In fact, if anything, they're so good that they need a pay raise. And we're just supposed to, and the whole Writers Guild thing, they're just like, you better support us because we're important. We're valuable to the industry. We are so valuable. Why are we valuable? I can't tell you because I just trust me, you know, even though we put out horrible content 24/7 all over the place on streaming, in Hollywood, I mean, in the theaters, none of it's the writer's problem. It's just, you know, it's the unfortunate system. That's why we need to change it. That's why we need more writers in the writer's room. We gotta have higher quotas. We gotta have affirmative action. We have to have a black person on the writing every single show of all. Every show that's produced must have a Asian, a black woman, blah, 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 blah. LGBT person must only write LGBT roles. You can't do it the other way around. All these stupid... guys, I'm just going on a rant. Let me go back to the thing. And Nazis? Squall shade. Never forget... where are we at? I lost my train of thought. Never forget that for every shitty writer continuing to do movies like these, there's that. Oh yeah. We talked about this. That's just that's sad, guys. And you know what? I brought this up in the in this conversation. You know, Guillermo del Toro was supposed to do a Jabba the Hutt movie, and you could go listen to him talk about it. He's very, he's not. He's over it. But he sounds a little bitter when he talks about it. Like, he's Mexican, so he's like, you know, I was supposed to do the Jabba the Hutt movie, and I can't do a Mexican accent. But he's like, don't know what happened. I don't know where the money went. I don't know where what Disney had some problem with the script, and then like they just said, nah, we're not going to do your movie. And then he explained that he had like 30 other scripts that never got through production. He had to shop, I believe it was Pinocchio, or it might have been Frankenstein, his new one. He had to shop it around, like, 20 different studios. They're all just like, I'll pass on your movie. I'm not going to fund your movie. We're going to instead we're going to fund Indiana Jones 5. We're going to fund we're going to make Madam Web. We're going to make Echo. We're going to make Rebel Moon. We're going to, so he ended up on Netflix, and Netflix will make anything. So they're like, well, I'll make your movie, Mr. Del Toro. But he's a great writer. His scripts are always great. So even he is overlooked, Anyway, let's go back to the last paragraph. You owe it to your audience to review something harshly when it deserves it, not tiptoe around it or sidestep it. And just because you bash a film doesn't mean you're bashing the person or people who made it. Yeah. I mean, that happens all the time. That's actually another thing that Platoon or Cynic or somebody brought up in that debate, which is like, a lot of the times we don't even talk about the writers. We're just like, oh, the writing sucked. This is bad storytelling. This is bad dialogue. We don't even bash individual people like 90% of the time, unless we're talking about a writer director, or like Zack Snyder is a good example. Everybody made fun of Zack Snyder. And then, this Chio guy was like, he actually made a good point. He was like, writer directors, auteurs, people who author their own films are absolutely should be criticized, because they are responsible for almost everything, including the editing many times. Right? Tarantino is a good example. Zack Snyder is a good example for his Rebel Moon, right? His Rebel Moon project, which sucks. So go ahead, make fun of Zack Snyder. It's okay. You're not a troll. You're not a basement dweller because you are laughing at how horrible that movie was. Like, why did he think that was a good movie to put out? Like, how can he possibly? It's very funny to me that he released Rebel Moon the way it was. What was I saying? Let's go back to the last part of it. Sometimes it's warranted so all those involved can do better. Oh, sometimes bashing, whatever, is warranted so that all those involved can do better, or step out of the way so that others can take their place. Just like sports. If you're not good enough, step out of the way. If you want to make that argument, you have to actually, if you want to make this sports analogy, you have to make the analogy that there are bad writers. There just are. You can't say there's not bad writers. Don't be afraid to, and that's what Joe Russo said. I can't find the tweet, guys. I think he deleted it, but he literally said, it's impossible to be a bad writer and make it into Hollywood. Here's another way of saying it. He says, I prove in this podcast why it takes great screenwriters to make a movie like Madam Web. So even Madam Web has great screenwriters. They're all great. Oh my God, guys, this is the biggest cope of all time. All time. Where's the other? Where were we? Here we go. Don't be afraid to say what needs to be said, Chris. We want to be Stuckmanized. Oh, sorry, that's at the bottom. Let me go back to the chat. Sorry. Very weebish. It's a good palate cleanser after the gay drama. Whoa, what are you talking about? The only thing, Honeybun says, the only thing I disagree with is the talent part. Look, even if you're amazingly talented, you shouldn't expect an audience if you're making something niche. It's a market demand. Yeah, that's true. Like David Lynch, Ari Aster, Robert Eggers. There's a lot of directors that are talented that are sort of like acquired tastes, or whatever you want to call it. That's true. What's up, Geminier? Love ya. Rings of Power. Rings of Power. Oh, hi, Blaine. Oh, you're heading to Blaine's Escape Quarter. Waifu Wednesday. Maybe I'll show up. See you, buddy. Anyway, yeah, guys, I was just reading chat here. So that's Joe's response. What do you think of Joe's response? I think it was pretty acceptable. Pretty acceptable. You know, people don't like him for, like, Adam Krigler doesn't like him for his political reviews. That's okay. It's political content. That's okay. You know, and it's just like, yeah. So we have those two dichotomies. We have this angry guy, Joe Russo, who's just yelling at everybody. And then we have Shio, who came on our stream and was nice. And they both sort of agree with each other, but one of them took the approach of talking to fans. Like, why? Oh, my music was down. I'm sorry. Talking to fans is a good thing. Imagine, wait, guys, imagine this. Imagine this. Let's just pick, like, imagine, what's a show? One Piece. Or, let's see here. What's a movie? Imagine if, I'm trying to pick, like, realistic ones. Argyle, right? Let's say, or David Leitch, like the guy who did Bullet Train and he's doing the Fall Guy. Imagine if he came on, David Leitch came on to our streams, or like just fan streams to talk about stuff. Or if somebody like Zack Snyder, he technically did come on Geeks and Gamers, but that wasn't really about criticism. That was about something else. But like, imagine if like Cowboy Bebop came out. Everybody was roasting the hell out of it. Imagine if the writers or the directors said, you know what, I'm going to go on one of these streams. I'm going to talk to the fans, try to figure out where we went wrong, where the disconnect is, and maybe we can reach some middle ground. In fact, I don't know if you guys remember this. I don't think I can find it. But there was a back and forth between Lauren Hissrich and the Quartering about The Witcher. And she had a pleasant, friendly back and forth. And I actually think that was very interesting. Do you guys remember this? Yeah, happened. The Witcher showrunner. So, like, I don't know. If you take away anything from the stream, other than, I don't know, drama farming because you thought it was entertaining or whatever, because I like talking about Twitter drama. Because I get autistic about it. It's just like I like engaging with the drama sometimes. But the main reason I did the stream is because I need to focus my thoughts and like explain, I think we need to like understand where the disconnect is, and I think we went over it in detail. How people like Joe Russo are absolutely the worst representations in their jobs, and this person is actively making. I said this to him. I said he's actively making, and then he said LOL. Here, let me go find it. He laughed at me. This is the last thing he said to me. I gotta find it. He says, lol. There's so much going on here. Shit. It's right here. I was like, you're actively making it worse for your community. Yeah, here it is. It's almost like you're trolling on purpose at this point. You probably shouldn't. Because he keeps just arguing. Look at this. Look at this. It's not even, it's other people too. He's yelling at other people. And I was like, you're just making it more difficult for your own peers to be perceived in a positive light by fans. his response to fans calling us trolls and refusing to come on our shows and saying that we don't care about anything and we're just being trolls. I mean, I'm going to try to avoid doing this, but a lot of people are going to just say, well, you know, we try. That's all of Hollywood. This guy represents all of Hollywood. All of Hollywood is a bunch of absolute idiots who just are shitty at their jobs, and they're antagonistic to fans. Now, to be fair, I know that's not all of Hollywood because this guy came on our stream. But like, he's making it worse he's making his people look worse. And he says, oh, he didn't even respond. Didn't respond. Anyway, fuck guys. What do you have to say? The pod, late gay stream for Lofty. Check me on the pod, bro. What's the pod? Oh yeah, the podcast. Yeah. We farm memes next time. Drama is tedious. Well, look, I don't do drama. I don't do this kind of drama very often. Once in a while, I will. But like for example, next week I'm doing. Whoa, guys, Dune. Look, like Dune's coming out. I'm trying to get to see it early. But Chris Gore invited me on his Versus channel show. I don't think I'm going to be able to get early tickets. Sadly, it's hard to find. But next week we're probably going to be talking about Dune. Also, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth I might be streaming. Also, I want to talk to Chris Gore about the Oscars, which comes up shortly, early next month. Also, I want to talk about this show called. Oh fuck! It's a Netflix show. I think it's called Parasite. It's a really, really good serial killer show on Netflix. It's South Korean. I want to talk about all these things that I like. Anyway, whatever. We did the drama. I kind of didn't even cover all of it, guys. The guy went on a unhinged rant. But this is a great stream, guys. Go sub to BSUP. And every Monday they stream, and sometimes I'm on. It's fun. I like it. But this guy had a lot to say. It was fun. Other than that, yeah, I just wanted. That's pretty much all I wanted to talk about tonight. I might be playing Dune Spice Wars tonight, off stream, because that's a fun game. I'm finishing up Dune, the book, again. I'm just Dune brained right now. I'm Dune brained right now. I'm on that spice joint, you know. But that's how it is. Why don't we leave out the little trophies for these bad writers in the meantime? Give out little trophies. That's what they want, guys. I followed that writers strike and it was cringe. Plenty of movies recently with A-class actors just saying shit scripts. That's true. Rebel Moon, for example, the Korean chick in that movie I would say, a fantastic actress, and she's in other movies. Appeal to a large market and be good if you want recognition faster. That's true. Sorry if I missed. I hope I didn't. I don't think. Let me just check. I don't think. Yes or no? Did I miss any super chats? I don't think I did. Tao says failing upwards. It happens all the time in Hollywood. Yep, that happens all the time. Other than that, guys, thank you. By the way, everybody here, holy crap, you guys were good. You showed up tonight and participated in the chat. I love it. Love it. You know, it's okay to criticize bad writing, and when a movie is butchered, we're gonna say it's butchered. We're gonna be like, yeah, this is obviously butchered, like what they did with the Pepsi sign. I guarantee you, a writer didn't say, I want to have a Pepsi sign, kill our main villain. That was probably a studio executive that said, we got to have product placement. So we're going to be honest about that. Like, we're not stupid. We're not idiots. Oh, man. Don't watch Madam Web. Go watch Dune. Support good movies. Support good movies and stuff like that. Anyway, what else is there to talk about? Oh, let's just go down this quick just in case. I just want to see my. I think we talked about everything. Yep. I think we did. I mean, there's other crap. You know, I'll just say one last thing. Like, let's see. This is cringe. Where is it at? Did you read any of the film scripts? If not, oh shit, you can't even see this. Did you read any of the film scripts? If not, you can't say anything. You can't say anything about the writing on the movie. What kind of cope is that? Just because I didn't read the script doesn't mean I didn't watch a movie that and audibly perceived bad dialogue and bad storytelling. What kind of, there are so many of these people. I didn't even talk about any of these people. These are just regular commenters that are coping and just cannot even be bothered to be normal. But I just thought that was a hilarious cope. Anyway, guys, I don't want to spend too much time on this. But thanks for sticking around. I really appreciate it. If you guys aren't subbed, feel free to sub and come back next week. Come back weekends. Sometimes I do video game streams. I'm going to try to get a better schedule. But thank you all for hanging out. Man, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is my next hype. Hype. And very excited about it. We'll see. Madam Web could have been theoretically great, so shut up, bigot. Hey, bro, I don't even know, man. I don't think it's possible with... They would have to write a whole different movie. Entirely different movie. Kenny Justice says, oh, okay. Watch Madam Web for the first time. First to guarantee whatever you see next, you will like. Anyway, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern time. I usually stream, and I try to be, like Stuckman says, try to be positive. I like to actually not just. I'm not doing the Stuckman thing where it's like I don't like bashing filmmakers. No, I like being positive because I get pleasure out of talking about things that I like because it's exciting. It's like I feel that's what that's how that's what fans do of stuff. That's as simple as that. Also, fans criticize stuff. I don't like criticizing as much. I think it can be a more adrenaline, it could be fun to criticize stuff. But I would prefer to like geek out over stuff, have like I would love to have a whole stream about like old school video games, growing childhood, like what I played when I was, I was a kid, talking about Dreamcast games. Like that's my wheelhouse. I love talking about stuff like that. Excuse me. Loftified. Oh yeah. Before you go, everybody, I want you to get loftified. Get loftified. Actually, I can play you out. And now, wait, hold on. And now, wait, fuck it. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Fucking thing sucks. All right, that is it for us today. And now we will leave you with Ken with a cut off his new album. Oh, fuck. Wait, let me do that again. Let me do it again. It didn't work. We'll do it live. Fuck it. We'll do it live. Well, that is it for us today. We will leave you with Ken and a cut off his new album. Woohoo! Thank you for joining, everybody. But can you feel the Kenergy? Kenergy! Woo! Feels so real, my Kenergy. I'm just Ken. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with me. That was fun. But you guys can go now. What does he say? What does Drinker say? Have a good day now. What does he say? Go away now. I'm so corny, guys. All right, bye everybody. You guys have a good night. Go hang out. Go play some games. Bye-bye.